Okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, maybe this will be better. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy DeMario, and I am a Superstar Director for the Scent Bliss family. And I just got some really good information off of a training call that Edie Ann did. And so I was wanting to share some of that because I know for me personally, there were some good reminders, and I just thought a lot of good information that I can share with some of you as well. So hopefully most of you guys know that we are a global company and we are in international markets. And if you're not familiar with or you want to know more about how to find information as far as how that works with your Scentsy business, I would highly recommend that you go to your workstation under Business References. If you scroll down to Categories, there's one on International Business. You'll find 3 documents there, and review all 3 of those documents. That will give you a better understanding of how you can work your business. If you're a Region 1 consultant, which I know the majority of our Bliss family is, and we would love to see that change. Region 1 is where we are here in the United States, and that also includes Canada and Mexico. However, because there are other countries, if you decide you want to sell or recruit in those regions, then you do have to do the e-commerce, and you can read all about that in those documents that I was telling you about. In Region 2, which is European markets, and Region 3, which is New Zealand and Australia, we cannot sell in those markets as a Region 1 consultant. However, we can have team members, and that's what I wanted to visit with you a little bit more about. Like I said, Edie Ann, she's a phenomenal person. She happens to be a Superstar Director from Maine, and she was kind of sharing more of the personal aspects of how she built such a large international team, because she has a lot of consultants from all over multiple countries in her downline. So one of the things that I really liked what she said was, you know, when she joined the Scentsy business, she lives in a town of 192 people, population 192 people. So for those of us that think we live in a small town or in a small community, she probably has most of us beat, because 192 is not very many. So she knew she was going to have to find customers and team members outside of that 192. And one of the ways she decided to do that, and because she lives in a rural area and it's lots of distance and such to try to drive to various places, is she decided to use the World Wide Web, which we all have access now to. And in doing so, she thought, you know, I'm going to have to make more connections. I'm going to have to get out and about and certainly expand my network outside of my small little community. And by doing so, she thought, what are my interests? And something that she's very passionate about is she has a couple of dogs that I guess are a very unique breed. I can't even remember what they were to tell you. But she's very passionate. She's absolutely a dog fanatic. And so she decided to join some Facebook groups of people who also had those same type of dogs. And she made a point of joining some of the international groups that had those same type of dogs. In doing so, she, of course, number one, had the same passion and loved learning about their dogs and what they used to wash their hair or whatever, all the different things that they talk about in these dog groups. But over the course of time, she started developing relationships with different people in the groups, having private messages around different things, all related to dog stuff. And that eventually allowed her to have those conversations about, now, do you work outside the home, or where do you work? Or I know you mentioned you worked here. And so naturally opportunities came up for her to say, well, I'm a Scentsy lady. Are you familiar with Scentsy? And if they weren't, then maybe they became a customer. Eventually, maybe they decided to host and even join. And this is where she found her international connections. It was through these Facebook groups, having common interests with people and in international markets that Scentsy happened to be in. That's what led to her initial growth in the international community. So again, if you happen to be like Edie Ann and live in a town of 192 people, or in my case, I live in a town of like 100,000 people, but I can't think of anybody right off the top of my head that I know from another country, from my community, or that has any friends, family members I really can't. I know where my son goes to school, they have a lot of foreign exchange students, but a lot of them are from China, and we are not currently in China. So that wouldn't be helpful even if I did know them. So my point is, many of us probably have to go outside of what we would consider our normal community to find in an international market. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't be asking your neighbors, your cousin, your brothers, or see who the foreign exchange students are in your community. And eventually, over time, you know, having those conversations and building those relationships to where you're comfortable saying, you know, we sell Scentsy in Germany. And I don't know if you or any of your family members have an interest, but I would absolutely love to have an international team and to bless your family member or your friend with the Scentsy opportunity. Is that something that I can talk about, or you can get me their contact information and so forth? So, you know, we do need to be asking and sharing and making it known to everybody we know that Scentsy is a global company, and posting that out on there on social media. Another arena that she knew or decided to utilize was YouTube. She has a huge YouTube following, and not only with her Scentsy business, but just personally, she shares a lot of stuff and with YouTube. And through that, whenever she's talking about her Scentsy business, she makes sure every single time she does a video introducing a new product, when a new order arrives, giving a review of something, whatever she might be doing and talking about when it comes to her business, she always drops a line of, hey, and if you guys are in Germany or in the UK or in New Zealand or wherever, or you know somebody that is, I would love to introduce the Scentsy opportunity to them too. So make sure you're sharing my video and sharing my contact information. So she makes that kind of like her, she just makes it a priority. And again, she's gotten a lot of interest and international contacts that way. I know another one of my friends that's very similar, and that she started having some people from Canada before Scentsy launched in Canada commenting on, oh my gosh, I wish we had Scentsy. I wish I could buy Scentsy. Oh my goodness, I would love to do what you're doing. And so what did she do? Of course, she got their contact information, and in the minute they found out they were launching in Canada, she was on it. And she got a hold of them, and she was able to get them excited. They joined the business and have since built a phenomenal team. So those connections, even if we're not in those markets yet, that doesn't mean never. So you still can keep track and do a good job of staying in touch with those individuals that you meet places so that you can add them to your team. I know I've got some other friends that are consultants that have been on cruises with their family or all-inclusive resorts in Mexico or wherever, and even standing in line at the flow rider, you know, they happen to have a conversation. In fact, I think it was her husband that was having a conversation with someone in line, and turns out they were from the UK. And next thing you know, before the end of the week was up, they were ready to sign up for Scentsy. So you never know where you're going to meet people and have the opportunity to share that we are in those markets. So make sure that you're making that known. And so I really wanted to bring that up. I wanted to kind of give you guys some ideas instead of having that closed-minded thinking of, I live in this town, there's no one here that lives or that knows anybody that lives in another country. And that's so probably not true. But if that you do feel like you are very limited by where you live, then go out on the web and meet people. I'm not telling you to go spam people. I'm not telling you that, just to go in and jump in there and say, join my team, but build genuine relationships with people that you would actually like and want to like anyways, and know things about and share stuff. And that will give you the opportunity at some point to share Scentsy. The other thing that I think is a really good story too is one of my friends who's also a superstar director and actually in Maine, but a different person. When we realized that we were launching Australia, she was racking her brain, who does she possibly know that's from Australia or knows someone? And initially nothing came up. Eventually she remembered that when she was in high school, and she no longer lived in that community, but when she was in high school, that she had a friend whose family had sponsored a foreign exchange student from Australia. So she messaged that family and said, hey, by chance, do you still keep in touch with that foreign exchange student that lived with you when we were in high school? And they said, oh my gosh, absolutely. They had continued to be good friends, a good family, all these years later. And she's like, well, Scentsy is getting ready to launch in Australia, and I would absolutely love the opportunity to talk with her about Scentsy and how it's just coming to her market and what a great opportunity this could be. Would you mind sharing her contact information or getting on a call with me so I could talk to her? So they made that happen. And sure enough, the gal was excited. She was still young. She was in her 20s, thought this would be a great thing. And so she did end up joining the business. Now, she did okay. She didn't come out of the gates being a rock star, being, you know, the next best thing in Scentsy, but she did recruit someone, and that someone happened to be her father, who I believe was like in his 60s or such. But that's who she sponsored. That was the first person that joined her team. And turns out this guy got it. He went crazy for Scentsy, crazy for the business, and totally a complete game changer for my friend's business. And in fact, the first month, it would have been, I can't remember what month they launched. It was like, for example, in August, I don't remember. But in September, when she got her check had increased by $5,000 from that one leg in Australia. So, I mean, big things can happen if you get someone who really gets it, and she did. But remember, the first person that she sponsored, the only thing they really ever did, and they never really grasped the business the way the father did, was they sponsored someone. And it was that person that made the difference and made the change in her business. And since then, I mean, it's endless, the directors and leaders that she now has in her organization from Australia and New Zealand, all because she thought to call that family and get the contact information of that foreign exchange student from when she was in high school. So you never know, but think about it and think about who you know and realize that it may not be the person you sponsor, but it might be who they bring in the business. And that's why I was just saying earlier with someone when I was talking with another team member today, I was just telling them is, you know, if you have team members that come on board, the first thing we want to do is get them active. We want to get them certified, and we want to help them sponsor someone, because we know if we can get them to sponsor someone in their first 70 days, they're going to see and feel a lot more success. And in reality, that might be the person that's the complete game changer for your business. So, well, for that matter, whether they're in your neighborhood or backyard or across the pond in another country, that's where we need to be thinking all the time. So I hope this is helpful. I hope maybe this will, you know, jog your guys' memory. I would love nothing more than for us to have tons of international teammates and team members from all over. I will tell you another piece that she touched on. Someone mentioned the language barrier and how does she address that. And she did say she happens to speak French as well, so that's kind of an added bonus. And she said if you do speak another language, make sure you're doing videos on YouTube and you're in groups that also speak that other language. So don't get so focused around the English that you only are utilizing the English market. She said if you do not speak another language, but you have a cousin who knows someone who doesn't speak English but is in one of those countries, remember that consultant support has support for consultants in all of the languages in all the countries we're in. So they're available for you to do a call. You could schedule a time with this individual where, you know, the person from consultant support is actually the translator for you. So that way they can still see you do something like Zoom or FaceTime or Skype or whatever. So they can still see you. They can still see your excitement and your enthusiasm, but you can have someone from consultant support be translating what you're saying and assisting them as far as putting in their orders and all of that stuff. You have access when you do sign up with those other regions to flip your workstation and your website for that matter, but your workstation to that country. So you'll have access to all the support documents, like as far as emailing them and such like that. But if you can't read them, consultant support is there to assist them as much or as little. Or if you need consultant support to call them and make sure they're understanding this, or they need to know this, they can do all of those things for you. So don't let language be the barrier and the reason you don't bless someone with the opportunity of Scentsy and open that up into their region. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope some of you guys will start thinking and go out there and let's grow our team internationally. I would love that more than anything. All right.